What's going on everyone, Mike here, and in this short video we'll have a look at the new Sony Vaio Duo 13 next to last year's Duo 11. I have some detailed reviews on both of them on the channel and on the site ultrabookreview.com, but for now let's see if Sony listened to their buyers and improved the things that went wrong with the first Duo. Having the two side by side, you'll notice that the Duo 13 is only marginally thicker and larger than the 11-inch version, despite packing a bigger screen. At the same time, the 13 is less than 1/10 of a pound heavier than last year's model, so in practice, you'll hardly be able to tell one from the other even when having them side by side. The new version was however significantly redesigned. You can see from this picture that it gets thinner towards the front, while the Duo 11 had a more even shape. Besides that, it no longer has cut-off sides, and that does make the new model somewhat uncomfortable to grab and hold in tablet mode because of those sharp edges. At the same time, all the ports were moved on the back of the device, while they were lined around the left and right edges on the 11. The new version only packs 2 USB ports, a full-size HDMI connector and a card reader, while the older one also offered VGA output and an Ethernet slot. My Vaio 13 came however with an HDMI to VGA extension cable in the pack, and on top of that there's this wireless dongle that integrates with the power brick and allows you to stick an Ethernet cable in and get your very own secure Wi-Fi. So there's really no difference between these machines in terms of ports and connectivity options, unless you want to have 2 monitors connected to these, something you can't on the newer Duo. There are also 2 more additions on the 13. These devices both come with pens, and on the older 11 there was no place to store that pen. The new model comes with a clip on the right edge that holds the pen when traveling, and also a retractable ring that can hold it when having the device in laptop mode. On top of that, the system detects when you're taking the pen out of its holders and can automatically launch an app that you might want. Neat trick. Oh, and the pen was slightly redesigned on the Duo 13 as well. Of course, having pens means that the Duos come with touchscreens and digitizers, so you can use them to draw, make sketches, take notes, etc. More about that in my detailed reviews. There's a 13.3-inch display on the new Duo and an 11.6-inch one on the older machine, as their names suggest. Both come with Full HD IPS panels that offers good colors and contrast, but the Duo 13 embeds Sony's Triluminous technology meant to make those colors pop even more. The Duos are both sliders, and that allows you to use them in tablet mode or lift the screen and get them in laptop mode. On the older 11, the entire sliding mechanism was rather stiff, and lifting the screen took effort and could easily result in broken fingernails. Besides that, the wires connecting the screen and the lower body were quite loose and exposed to potential damage. Sony learned from their mistakes and the 13 is much easier to operate. You can comfortably lift the screen with only one hand, and they also addressed the cable issue, having them somewhat integrated with the slider's leg. Speaking of that, this one is much more compact than before, but the entire laptop still feels very sturdy. The new sliding mechanism also pushes the screen more towards the back of the machine without having any negative impact on its balance, and that allowed more space for the keyboard on the Duo 13. Thus, the keys are larger, and this aspect, combined with the improved feedback, makes the keyboard on the Duo 13 far better than the one on the 11. Besides that, some of you who bought last year's model complain about the keys sometimes not registering presses unless hitting them in the middle. You'll be glad to know that this was addressed as well on the 13, as you can see here. The new interior layout also left room for a clickpad on the new Duo. It's tiny, but it actually works well. On my unit it was fairly accurate, handle taps easily, and even gestures like 2-finger scrolling and zooming. Last year's model came with an overly sensitive track point and some dedicated buttons, but I find the new solution somewhat more complete. And those are the obvious differences between the two lines, but there are some more subtle ones. Sony changed the camera placement on the Duo 13 and now has it on the bottom towards the right, which means that you will cover it with your fingers most of the time. The rear camera on the 13 has an 8-megapixel sensor though, so it offers far better performances than the one on the older version. The front shooters are pretty much the same. Also, the speakers have been slightly redesigned, although they are still placed at the bottom towards the front edge. On top of that, you won't find any status LEDs on the Duo 13 like you did on the 11, but I doubt anyone is going to care about that. Those being said, let's focus on what's inside these machines. The Duo 13 is built on top Intel's latest Haswell hardware platform, while the Duo 11 bundles last year's Intel Ivy Bridge platform. Both can take up to 8GB of memory and 512GB SSDs. That, however, won't make the new model noticeably faster. In fact, you'll hardly see any differences between the two with everyday tasks or when it comes to multimedia. The Core i7 versions of the Duo 13, however, should offer quite a boost in graphic performances since they offer Iris chips. Except for that though, the two are close. However, the new platform is far more efficient than the older one. Besides that, there is a larger battery now on the new model, so while the Vaio Duo 11 could offer around 4 hours of everyday use, The Duo 13 can easily last to around 7 to 8 in similar conditions. So all in all, Sony did their lessons with the Duo 13. They improved many, if not all, the issues of their last year model without actually screwing up anything important in return. And that's why the 13 is an excellent convertible ultrabook, that if you can live with the slider form factor and its shortcomings, of course. So right now, the Duo 13 is clearly the obvious choice over the Duo 11. However, the new model is more expensive, starting at $1,400, while the 11 starts at $1,200, and the gap gets wider if you add extra options. Even so, that's hardly a reason to get the Duo 11, with all its known issues, but hopefully we'll see an upgraded version later this year. Alright, that's about it for now. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed it, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button and share this video on Facebook, Twitter and all the other services. Also, let me know in the comments below if you have any other questions about these two Vaio Duos. I'll be around to reply, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers!